Welcome to the show, everybody. This is the Farsi Show presented by MyBookie, MyBookie.ag. It's wonderful to have you along for the ride. I do usually love the All-Star game. In my older years, I've tended to care less about it and all that, but I was paying attention last night, especially after the Sixers Summer League game was over. That's right. I was on Summer League duty last night, but keeping an eye on the All-Star game throughout. And Pete Alonso hits the 3-run home run. And I'm like, damn it, he's probably going to win the MVP. And the last thing I need to hear, last thing I want to hear, last thing any of us want to hear are MVP chants going on at Citi Field when the Phillies are playing the Mets again. God forbid they have to meet them in the playoffs again. MVP, MVP, MVP. So then, literally, my thought was, I was just disgusted. I was like, we're going to hear the MVP chants at Citi Field. It's going to be terrible. So then Edwin Diaz comes in as things are already starting to unravel for the National League. Edwin Diaz comes in to try to close out the victory, and he doesn't, thanks to future Philly Stephen Kwan and his hand in the situation with the game-tying RBI infield single. He blows the save, and he blows the opportunity for his teammate, Pete Alonso, to get that MVP trophy. And I think, this is fantastic. Oh, I don't have to hear those cheers. All right, let's see what happens in extra innings. And I was like, wait a minute. There is no extra innings. They're doing the swing off, the home run derby to decide who wins the game. I wonder if Kyle Schwarber will be part of this. What if Kyle Schwarber won MVP? Oh, what a great turn of events. And Kyle Schwarber steps up there. I believe the National League was down a run, or no, 2 runs. He goes up there, hits 3 home runs, takes a couple pitches, gets the timing. You even see him go, yeah, that's right. Like, nods his head, little smirk, Oh, okay, I think I got it. I think I got this. And then he proceeds to take 3 swings, took a pitch, I think, after the second home run. He hits 2 home runs, takes pitch 2, and then hits what would be the game winner. And then Kyle Schwarber is named MVP of the 2025 All-Star Game. It could not have gone better. I was on a show recently. Forgive me, guys. Patterson Fanatics, Sports Fanatics, I'm blanking on it. But my man Tom Kelly, my man Mike Fuji, and I'm blanking on that gentleman's name, but he's cool. Anyway, and you guys asked me about favorite All-Star moments, and I referenced how leading up to the All-Star game, Johnny Callison's home run in like 1964 in the All-Star game, 3-run homer in the All-Star game. That came up in my algorithm, and I watched it a couple of times. I went back and watched it because I never really watched like a big display, like a big presentation of it. It wasn't just the home run. I never seen it before. I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. And I'm watching, of course, Pete Alonso hit the home run, and I go, oh, damn it. And then literally the best possible outcome, a Met blows it for another Met. Thank you, Edwin Diaz. And then Kyle Schwarber gets it, and the MVP trophy comes to Philly. Now, in all honesty, this doesn't mean anything for the season. All it means is I'm not annoyed as much as I possibly could be by Mets fans chanting MVP. Instead, now I get to hear Citizens Bank Park for a guy in a contract year chant MVP when he comes to the plate, especially in those clutch situations, those crucial situations. I love the fact that also Kyle Schwarber did not want to do the actual home run derby, and yet he got thrust into winning the National League their game with a home run derby off, a home run off. And also following it, it was cool. It was exciting. And I'll also say this about typical Atlanta Brave fan fashion. Nobody was there. Nobody was there. Oh, man, that's a good time. You have this historic moment for the All-Star game. And, it's in Atlanta. And Atlanta is like arriving late to LA is leaving early to Atlanta. Like that's kind of the thing that I've noticed about Atlanta, or just not showing up at all, basically. But the stadium was packed, it was juiced, and then it wasn't anymore. And I was I was laughing myself to sleep last night. Oh, man, another Met. A Met blew it for another Met, and it went to the Phillies. That's a beautiful thing. An absolutely beautiful thing. Either way, welcome into the Farzy Show. My name is Mark Farzad, and this is the Farzy Show presented by MyBookie, mybookie.ag. It is absolutely incredible to have you along for the ride. We'll also get into last night's Summer League game. VJ Edgecombe did play in the game. VJ Edgecombe was not so great in that first half, scored all 15 of his points in the second half. We'll go through some of that today. And Chauncey Gardner-Johnson said that the Philadelphia Eagles, he was on the pivot with Ryan Clark, and he said the Philadelphia Eagles were afraid of having a competitor. The Philadelphia Eagles were afraid of having a competitor. Let me start off there. I absolutely still despise the fact that Chauncey Gardner-Johnson is not here. It really is for people the easiest thing to look at. Wait, you had him for a year. You went to the Super Bowl. You didn't have him. You fell apart at the end of the year. He comes back. You go back to and win the Super Bowl. What am I missing? This guy seems to be a rather important piece to your secondary. There is no better proof in the pudding than that. Hey, I'm here, Super Bowl. I'm not here, no Super Bowl. Historic collapse. I'm here, Super Bowl. And then you get rid of him again. On the phone, and because everything's on video nowadays, especially with CJGJ, just like the first time he was out of Philadelphia, he was like, yeah, Philadelphia, I think, was it MFers? Was it something like that? Something along those lines. And then he comes back and we're like, yeah, it's fine. All's forgiven. Guy can play safety. We're good. So then this time around, the video is out there again of Howie Roseman giving him the call saying, we got to move on. It's cap thing. We got to pay the young guys. Can't pay you and the young guys. So we're going to make a move here, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, okay, that's business. And he was cool. He's like, that's business. This is business. Appreciate the call. It's business. It's business. It's all business. And ever since that, it hasn't been business. Ever since that, it's about feelings being hurt. In no way, shape, or form do I feel like the Philadelphia Eagles got rid of him because he's a competitor. Now, in his mind, what is a competitor? Somebody who could fly up the handle at any moment? A guy who get thrown out of the game? He is specifically cited the Washington game that he got thrown out of. They don't want to get rid of me because I'm a competitor. I absolutely think that Howie Roseman, the Eagles front office, maybe even Vic Fangio, looked at the whole situation with Chauncey Gardner-Johnson and thought, yeah, we're a little scared of what he could do next. We're and how it could hurt the team. Not like a serious thing or anything, but just like how it could hurt the team on the field. Will it come up at the wrong time where he loses his temper or competes a little too hard for our liking, to use his term? And we'll have to move on from him, or he'll hurt the team, and then we'll have to move on from him. So they moved on from him. I kind of feel like they looked at it as Chauncey Gardner-Johnson is in one hand, he's got a can of gasoline, small can of gasoline, and the other hand is a lighter. Like they just were like, okay, all right, those two, they're just too close together, and at any moment this could explode, and it's not going to be good for anybody. That's how I feel they looked at Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. Handle with care. Very fragile in a way, not in a negative way towards his own personality, but just that they had to handle with care. And rather than live on that edge, they felt like, okay, look, our secondary is still going to be pretty good. Cooper DeJean, Quentin Mitchell, they brought in the veteran Adoree Jackson. They got faith in Keely Ringo. So as far as the corners and nickel spot go, we feel pretty good. Reed Blankenship is a game sealer. Feeling pretty good about that. All right, we got Drew Bakuba here in the second round. We feel pretty good about that. And they're just going to end up signing Jonathan Simmons anyway, so whatever. Yeah, I don't think it was all about money. And normally when people say it's all about money, normally it is all about money. But in the NFL, in this particular case, or if someone's being let go, it's not always just about the money. It's about performance. It's about personality. It's about mix. And for whatever reason, I don't think the Philadelphia Eagles thought that he mixed extremely well, which I think is ridiculous because I still have him back here on a heartbeat, by the way, for the record. I'm just talking about the Eagles' perspective of it all. I absolutely feel that they looked at it and went, yeah, this is We're just really nervous. We're just really nervous around Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, despite the obvious success that the Eagles have here, that the team has with him here. So the idea of him saying that they didn't want a competitor, that to me is all about personality. 100% about personality. Scared of a competitor. Simple as that. Ryan Clark pushed on him and said, hey, well, wait a second. What do you mean competitor? Because even he was confused. We had a little scrum at practice, Chauncey Gardner said. Nothing, just offense versus defense, but who's the culprit of it? Me, I guess, because we're competing. Well, you tell me the period is live. You're telling me it's to compete during a live period, but it's live period. We're getting ready for a playoff game. That's the example of the guy that can fly off the handle a little bit. Yeah, it's live, but man, it's still your teammate. What is he, headhunting at practice? So combination of the Washington game getting thrown out and apparently a little bit of an attitude there at practice. Again, it goes back to dangerous. Don't let these two things mix because it's going to explode. That's how they view Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. And the thing that's so wild to me is that you had him here already. This wasn't like some free agent that you picked up. You heard some good things about. You heard maybe one or two things that are negative. You're like, I'm sure it's fine. He's really talented, and we need a safety. He could be it. And you knew what you were getting. You knew what you were getting. The other idea is Vic Fangio signed off on him being here in the first place. Or, excuse me, the return, I should say. And then I don't think he liked what he had. And this isn't the first time we've heard from Chauncey Gardner-Johnson about his departure in Philadelphia. And I'm not even talking about the phone call that Howie Roseman made. It was after that when Vic Fangio very nonchalantly answered the question about Chauncey Gardner-Johnson not being here anymore. He just said simply, that was a cat move. I was fine with it. Put yourself in Chauncey Gardner-Johnson's shoes. You've been with a company. They had their greatest success, and then they had a great success, came one shy of the goal of the Super Bowl. They move on from you. Then they bring it back, then you win the Super Bowl. And then they let you go again. And that, essentially, your boss that you report to is asked about your departure. And they act like it was no big deal. After you just helped the number one defense in the NFL shut down Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs in the Super Bowl and provided a parade for all of Philadelphia. Put yourself in CJGJ's shoes for just a second. That doesn't sound good. That doesn't hit the ears good. That's bad. So hearing all that, I have zero doubt whatsoever that he has built up some animosity here when it comes to the Philadelphia Eagles, when it comes to Vic Fangio, and probably when it comes to Howie. Because I'm sure who he's thinking of was, wait a minute, Howie was talking about all this in the cap and all this stuff, and it just seems like it's no big deal to move on from me. Yeah, I don't think so, man. That doesn't sit right with CJGJ. And let me just say again for the record, all being equal, I'd have him back in a second. In a New York minute, I'd have him back in Philadelphia. That is if they don't sign Jonathan Simmons, which they're going to sign Jonathan Simmons. Anyway. I am very much looking forward to the way the rest of this offseason plays out. With him being in Texas, him probably still going to be talking a lot about his time in Philadelphia and kind of what it all meant to him and why he is pissed he's not here anymore. Now he's going to go to D'Amico Ryans. Justin Simmons, excuse me. That wasn't hitting the ears right. Sorry. Speaking of things not hitting their hair, Justin Simmons. Eagles just had Justin Simmons anyway. So I look forward to seeing the way the rest of this offseason plays out with CJGJ. Now, as far as the Eagles go in their safety position right now, look, the proof's in the pudding. You want to talk about cap or whatever? They haven't, to this point, signed anybody at big money at the safety position. So if you want to talk about it's not a cap move, well, then where's the money at the safety spot? Right now, they're depending on Sidney Brown to take over the safety spot, Drew Makuba to take over at the safety spot, Tristan McCullum to take over at the safety spot, and sometimes Cooper DeJean at the safety spot. Odd. A bit odd. If you're arguing that it wasn't a cat move, that they just didn't like me, well, then where's the money being spent at that position? Because as long as they don't spend money at the safety spot, as long as they don't spend money there, then they're spreading the money other positions, then that's exactly what Howie Roseman told him on the phone. That we got to pay other guys. We got to pay the younger guys in particular. They wanted to make sure they re-upped with Saquon Barkley, rewarded him for his historic season. I'm sure that Chauncey Gardner-Johnson gets that. Zach Bond, obviously a guy you got to pay. They paid him, rewarded for his amazing season. As long as they're not, who they pay on the outside? Nobody. Are they paying Adoree Jackson anything worthwhile? Nope. They paying Jahad Campbell, a first-round rookie, anything significant? No. Jalen Carter's coming up still. They gave Jordan Davis, they paid him his $13 million for his pickup on his rookie deal, his extension. Who else? Is Josh Uche making mega bucks? Azeez Ojulari making mega bucks? No. So who are they paying? They still haven't paid the safety spot. So everything the Eagles have told him to this point is still very much true. I think he is absolutely butthurt about I was fine with it. There was no part with Vic Fangio where he said, oh, hey, this guy gave a lot to us last year. It was, last line of defense, very aggressive player. Loved having him here, but unfortunately, a cap situation could hold on to him. That, oh man, that's beautiful. That's poetry to Chauncey Gardner-Johnson's ears. But the idea of, just forget about it. Then that is what doesn't sit well with him. So as again, back to just the Eagles itself and what this all means is I just as someone who's waiting for who's going to be the starter. Well, we got training camp coming up in 6 days. Everyone's going to be at NovaCare. We're going to be seeing how all this shakes out. But for me, I look at that safety spot and I go, if Drew Makuba is going to be that answer, great. If Cooper DeJean is going to be that answer some of the time, just as an excuse to put him on the field, fine. But, and we got into this yesterday on Eagle Squad podcast for the Locked On Network. It doesn't seem like it's just a test run leading up to training camp through minicamp and OTAs to have Cooper DeJean playing on the outside and playing the safety position as well as his nickel responsibilities. I find it very interesting that they're going to rely on him for all of that. I don't think it's just like, oh, we're going to get his feet wet at these positions. I don't think he really needs that. They want to see what else he could do. Sure, they want to test him, but when they don't have another outside corner option right now, like they didn't bring in another name to come in and play corner other than Adoree Jackson. I think they're looking at Keely Ringo to take those reins, and he had a really good OTAs, really good minicamp by all reports. I find it interesting that you're going to want a guy to play 3 different positions in Cooper DeJean when you have really 3 other guys that are specializing respectively at all of those other positions. Especially when you talk about Adoree Jackson, Keely Ringo, and then also either Sidney Brown or Drew Makuba. Now, Makuba can also play the nickel. So, look, versatility is great. I'm not saying it's not great. And it's one of the things that makes Cooper DeJean so special that he can even be considered for these other roles. But it's odd to me that the talent you brought in still isn't better than a guy who's just very versatile. Guys that are specific, these are their specialties, playing the safety spot, playing the outside corner. These are their specialties. And still, I think Cooper DeJean is not just getting, we're just going to see how he does. I think they're absolutely looking to keep him on the field as much as humanly possible. And the reason I think that is because I don't think Vic Fangio is throwing out the exact number of base defensive plays that they ran out of last year. 160. That's 160 snaps, 160 opportunities that they look at Cooper DeJean, more so than Keely Ringo, Adoree Jackson, probably even Drew Makuba and Sidney Brown, and say, we that's 160 more opportunities that we like Cooper DeJean being out there to be a difference maker. That's not a terrible strategy. Here's what I know. I've seen Cooper DeJean play 1 year in the NFL. And in that 1 year, I watched 4 games without him, and then I watched the rest of the season with him. And him picking off Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl for a pick 6, that kind of sums up the year he had. Absolutely incredible. So what is Vic Fangio cooking up? These are the questions. These are the questions I have. Is there a storyline in leading up to training camp that you don't feel has been touched upon enough? Are there questions, like the biggest question going into it, we've talked about it a lot when it comes to who is going to be that outside corner? The offensive side of the things, we've talked about the right guard spot, and it's just like, yeah, whoever. Just pick up an undrafted free agent that we've never heard of and start him, and we'd be confident because Jeff Stoutland said, oh, yeah, he'll do. You know? Is there a storyline on the defensive side, offensive side that you just haven't heard a lot of? Harry Mays brought up a great one yesterday, and it was like Jake Elliott's struggles last year. That was very much a thing. And he missed, I think, 4 extra points. He was not money from the long distance field goals that we have seen him be money from in the past. He had some struggles last year, and that was a conversation of more than 1 point in the season. A couple of times throughout the season, it was like, is Jake Elliott okay? The Eagles need to start working out kickers? What's going on here? And I thought, if we're talking about the kickers, it reminded me of when the Eagles won their first Super Bowl. And the conversations in training camp were, well, is Nick Foles going to be okay at backup quarterback? He hasn't played. Is he going to be okay at backup quarterback? New long snapper. How is this team going to survive? I was like, wow, if this is what we're talking about, this is going to be a really good year. If these are the problems, quote unquote, this is going to be a really good year. So I feel very similarly. And we're not even in camp yet about this Eagles squad. The other thing is just that list again with Jalen Hurts. I feel awesome about Saquon Barkley being here. Obviously, I feel great about this offensive line, regardless of whoever the right guard is going to be again for that Jeff Stoutland University graduate's degree, whoever it is. Even if they take the expedited, elongated classes to graduate earlier, I feel pretty damn good about that. But I was looking at that list again, and here it is again. This is from executives. This is from scouts and coaches around the NFL. And the thing that I find really interesting about this is Jalen Hurts is a second-round pick. Can't really say that about anybody else on here. Is this executives and GMs not willing to admit that they were wrong and they just feel like, oh, no, we passed on Jalen Hurts, so it can't be Jalen Hurts. We didn't have a first-round grade on him, so it can't be Jalen Hurts. All these other guys are much better than him, blah, blah, blah. For me, I find it very interesting that after a Super Bowl victory, after a Super Bowl MVP award, after all this, Jalen Hurts still doesn't get the respect that he deserves. And it comes down to I feel like the numbers in a lot of cases here. But what it doesn't come down to, unfortunately, is putting your team as a quarterback, not as a coach, but in the best position to have success on any given play. And it's amazing that Jalen absolutely defaulted into hero ball at the end of 2 seasons ago now, tried to do everything for his team, and it obviously did not work out, and went through an awful stretch of like 24 turnovers in 20 games, and that carried over into this past season with 2 interceptions, almost 2 interceptions in Brazil against the Packers. And then after the bye week, everyone wants to talk about how they just gave the ball to Saquon Barkley, and that was that. Well, that wasn't everything. I mean, Cooper DeJean came in. Saquon Barkley took over more of the responsibility in the offense, certainly. But Jalen Hurts stopped turning the football over. And that's not just because he became a more accurate thrower. He became a much better decision maker. And I've talked a lot about this in the past, about Jalen Hurts and just his willingness to eat a sack. his willingness to even take a safety if it means he's not going to, have a wind up and have Levante David smack that ball out of his hand again. He's not going to try to throw the football in a phone booth. He's not going to put the precious pigskin in peril, as I like to say. Just hold on. If I just don't try to be the hero, if I just take the safest play possible, where I limit the possessions that offense has, then we're going to be, especially with this offense, we're going to be pretty good. And if I just get close to that goal line, touchdown. And that's one of the other things that I find wild to me. Like, does any other quarterback, like Josh Allen's a pretty damn good quarterback. They can't run the tush push as well as the Eagles. We learned that in the AFC Championship game. Does any other quarterback have an automatic touchdown play in their back pocket? If it was anybody else, they'd be like, oh, this guy's amazing. How many teams in the NFL would like to have an automatic touchdown with this quarterback? This is amazing. But no, for whatever reason, Jalen Hurts. Like, you're telling me, and I've said before, Jalen Hurts, the only quarterback I'm taking in the NFL over Jalen Hurts is Patrick Mahomes. So you're telling me that a 26-year-old quarterback who's been to 2 Super Bowls, been the MVP of the league for like a stretch of something, I think it's 21 out of 25 weeks. And a guy who's been to 2 Super Bowls, won a Super Bowl MVP. That guy, and also has had 2 or 3 separate 10-3 starts to seasons. That guy, he's not good. And by the way, 2 of those starts are without Saquon Barkley. So you mean to tell me, and a 10-game winning streak last year. You mean to tell me that this guy is not even in the top 5, according to NFL executives? Yeah, it's still weird to me. And when you boil it all down, what does it mean for the actual team? I know Jalen Hurts has been in Greece with Michael Jordan. Not bad. I saw a picture of Carmelo Anthony there too. Okay. But what does it mean for the team? It means Jalen Hurts gets that. Thank you very much. I'm going to put that in the motivation bank, and we'll use that for the rest of this season. And here's the deal. The unfortunate thing for Jalen Hurts personally, which I don't even think he cares about, but if the Eagles win the Super Bowl again this year, if the Eagles even have a dynasty, this is going to be looked at as a super team and not, wow, Jalen Hurts is amazing. And I'll tell you how I feel about that. I really don't care. I'm sorry. Is it 2 or 3 more parades? Then we're fine. We're good. Is it an Eagles dynasty? What? That's unheard of. But even if it does build itself to that, then Jalen Hurts is going to be looked at as just one of the pieces in the cog in the wheel, one of them. And I do love that Nick Sirianni, when they gave him the opinion of some that Jalen Hurts just kind of along for the ride, or he's a spectator, and all that. Nick Sirianni just said that's BS. And it is, because Jalen Hurts is controlling a lot of that offense. And the other thing that we don't talk about enough is going into last year, one of the big questions was, how is Jalen Hurts going to survive without Jason Kelce as his center? How is Jalen Hurts going to survive without Jason Kelce? Well, how is Jalen Hurts going to survive without Jason Kelce? Well, he did pretty damn good with Cam Jurgens. And Cam Jurgens, to his credit, did pretty damn good. But Cam Jurgens wasn't asked to do the same thing with shifting protection or calling out defenses. He wasn't doing the way that Jason Kelce was doing it. Jalen Hurts was doing it. Jalen Hurts took that step forward. So when you talk about the Kevin Patullo version of this offense, what's that look like? I think it's going to look a lot like the Jalen Hurts version of this offense. Because Jalen, I think, is going to take that next step this year where, okay, we don't have to worry about the center and communication between the center and the quarterback. This year, I don't think we're going to have to worry about communication or play calling between the offensive coordinator and the quarterback, because I think the quarterback is going to take on more of that responsibility, just like he did last year. Now, I'm not talking about, the famous, Terry Bradshaw called his own plays. I'm not talking about going that extreme. But I am talking about the line of scrimmage. He absolutely has the freedom, and more importantly, the knowledge to go, yeah, what we got, not for this. Okay, next, Saquon, or rub route to Dallas Goedert, crossing route to Dallas Goedert, slant to A.J. Brown, whatever. Like, he's oh no, I know how to beat this. Okay, I know, and it's not just how I can beat this. I know how we can beat this. The mental aspect of his game that stepped up so much last year with both the decision making and, for lack of a better term, play calling, essentially, check downs, audibles, whatever you want to call them. That also skyrocketed last year as well. So, but the unfortunate thing, just as far as the individual legacy of Jalen Hurts, which, yes, he does not care about, is if they continue to win with this core, he won't get the credit that he deserves. The line, and I love Dan Orlovsky, the line from him was, there is no easier place to play quarterback in the NFL than Philadelphia. And yeah, I agree with it. He's not wrong. He's absolutely right. But what happens when you make those other quarterbacks, you put them in the absolute perfect position? Will they crumble under the pressure of, like winning in the playoffs? Will they crumble under the pressure of winning in a Super Bowl to the tune of an MVP award? Well, we don't know that. But here's what I do know. Jalen Hurts didn't. And with all the pressure and all the questions as to whether or not Jalen Hurts can be the guy to lift this team to a Super Bowl championship, if some team takes out Saquon Barkley, takes him out of it, how productive he could be. Can he make the throws? Oh yeah, he made the throws. And that's the last thing that I'll say about it. The Eagles didn't win the Super Bowl by eking out a victory like 17-14 over the Kansas City Chiefs. The Eagles didn't get some 200-yard performance from Saquon Barkley in the Super Bowl last year. The Eagles destroyed a three-peat seeking Kansas City Chiefs team. They destroyed them. And Jalen Hurts was the star of the show, and he still doesn't get the credit. More motivation for next year with Jalen Hurts. Really, next year, couple days. Training camp gets in the way. That's wild, man. That came up fast. When I was looking at the calendar last week, I was like, oh, well, training camp, less than 2 weeks. Damn. I thought of Jalen Hurts' line about how when he was standing in his locker after they won the Super Bowl, and he was like, yeah, I'm already behind my off-season workout because, we were now this is where I take creative liberties, because we were busy winning the Super Bowl. Oh, I feel so behind. Everyone else they're already on push-ups, and I'm not even at sit-ups yet. Oh, no, I'm so behind because, I was busy winning the Super Bowl. As I always say, it's the first quarterback I ever heard talk about the Super Bowl as if it was as if it was an inconvenience to their off-season workout regimen. Well, he's living it up in Greece right now, so good. And he had 2 weddings? Good for him. It's a busy off-season there, Jalen. All right. Last night, VJ Edgecombe did play in the Sixers Summer League game. It was not pretty, especially that first half, especially that first quarter. Sixers scored like 7 points in the first quarter. Let me tell you this. If it's not how you make your living, like me, for instance, where you could watch anything you wanted. You can watch the All-Star game. And why did you watch the Summer League? If you watched the Summer League last night, even, a 5-minute check-in on the Summer League last night, why? Why'd you do that to yourself? Especially in the first half. Now, the second half, a bit of a different story. Second half, VJ Edgecombe got all 15 of his points in the second half. I believe 7 of them came in the fourth quarter. Really showed off the athleticism. Shot well from the free throw line. I don't think he missed a free throw last night. All in all, it was a great second half. He was mugged a couple of times in the first half, but he was 0 for 7 shooting in the first half. 0 for 7, 3 rebounds, 3 assists in the first half. Not ideal. He was mugged on 2 drives to the or 1 drive to the basket. He was also mugged, like hit in the head while he was shooting a 3 that he missed. There was a lot that was rather off-putting in that first half of the game last night. But the Sixers, they rallied. I think they had a 12-0 run in the fourth quarter is what it ended up being, and they ended up picking up the victory, which is great. They get their first victory in Vegas for the Summer League, so that's good. And VJ Edgecombe, probably not playing in the back-to-back tonight. There was also one instance that I feel was one of the better moments, and that was late in the third quarter. VJ Edgecombe, like I said, he was really more aggressive in the second half. You could tell the guy hadn't played in like 10 days, maybe a step slower, getting back into it, getting that kind of game repetition going again. He missed a couple of layups after some strong drives to the basket. He had one attempt at a dunk that went in, but it wasn't a dunk. He like kind of laid it up. He dunked it on the rim, and there was just the right spin on it that hit off the other side and went down. I think that's the way it was, or it spun in place for a second, then went down. So not a fluid dunk, I'll call it that. But still, nonetheless, a good drive to the basket. But had a couple of those where it was just like a hair off here or there. He looked rusty, is what he looked like. But seeing him get stronger as the game went on, certainly a good thing. And certainly be more aggressive as the game went on yesterday, also a good thing. So I love seeing that for him. Also, Trey Johnson didn't play last night for the Washington Wizards Summer League team. I would doubt that VJ Edgecombe plays tonight. But like I said, there was one thing in particular that made me feel good. He had a hard drive to the basket, went down hard, got fouled, missed the layup, went to the line, made both free throws. But I'm watching him after this because he landed, like he tried to break his fall with his hands. And I don't know if you guys are aware of this. The thumb is part of the hand. And he's got this thumb injury. And he went down on both hands. And I'm like, oh boy, how's this going to feel? And he gets up, he's fine. Hits both free throws. There's not even like a wince. I was waiting for a wince. I was waiting for a look at the hand and like him shake it out or something or rub his hand. Just something to indicate that he had some kind of injury at some point. And nope, did not. He was fine. He's fine. He's all good. In total last night, by the way, 15 points all coming in the second half. He was 4 of 14 shooting, 1 for 6 from beyond the arc, 6 for 6 from the free throw line. And how about Janai Broome? A double-double, 14 points, 10 rebounds. Love to see that for him. Justin Edwards had 17 points. He had 5 threes in the game. Kiva Luma, by the way. This is how bad it was. Kiva Luma played 1 minute in the second quarter. All right, I shouldn't say he played 1 minute. He was in the game for a minute in the second quarter. He hit a 3, and I think he had a layup. He had 5 points. In that 1 minute, in the second quarter, where he checked into the game, he led the team in scoring. That's how terrible the first quarter was. The first quarter score was 13 to 7. Also, a couple air balls for the Sixers last night, including my man Andrew Funk out of Archbishop Wood. Rooting for him, man. Not a great night. Not a great night for basketball, but a great night for a second half of basketball where the Sixers just, by the way, blew them out by 10 in that fourth quarter. So good for the Sixers on that. In case you're just joining us, the top story of the day. Let's have some fun with this for as long as we can. In the All-Star game last night, Pete Alonso hit a 3-run home run, in line to be the MVP, until his teammate, Edwin Diaz, blew the save for the National League. Future Philly, Stephen Kwan, came up with the game-tying RBI infield single. And all the while, by the way, Edwin Diaz was like laughing it up on the mound. I'm like, this dude's about to blow this, and he finds this to be hysterical. So anyway, they tie it at 6. The American League ties it at 6. So then they have a home run off. They have a home run derby to decide the victory. And who would pretty much clinch the victory for the National League? Kyle Schwarber. You get 3 swings. He hit a home run on all 3 of his swings, propelling the National League to victory, and him winning the National League MVP, or excuse me, the All-Star MVP award. So, in short, one Met blew the MVP for another Met, and then it went to a Philly. That is a picture-perfect ending. Edwin Diaz blew the MVP award for Pete Alonso. The MVP award ended up going to Kyle Schwarber. We don't have to hear annoying MVP chants at Citi Field. Instead, we get to be the annoying MVP chants in South Philadelphia. Couldn't have scripted a better ending as far as I'm concerned. Hey, let me tell you about the Game Time app. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use promo code Farzy, and get $10 off your first purchase on the Game Time app. Want to go to the game, the concert, the comedy show? Game Time app has you covered. And don't forget about Game Time Picks. The Game Time Picks feature on the Game Time app You know what that does? That filters out all the fluff so you get right down to it. The best seats at the best prices, and you can even view your seat before you buy it so you know the vantage point, so you take the guesswork out of buying tickets on the Game Time app. So download the Game Time app, create an account, use promo code Farzy, and get $20 off your first purchase on the Game Time app. How about PHL Sports Nation, Philadelphia Sports Nation, enhancing your Philadelphia sports fan experience across all social media and blogs? That's PHLSportsNation.com. And how about Sky Motorcars? SkyMotorcars.com. Check out Brett's amazing inventory at SkyMotorcars.com. Let's get into the chat check and see how you guys are doing on this fine morning. Rye, what's going on, Rye? Rye, I believe I just put it together the other day, and I apologize. Wine Niners Wine, Rye, my man. Junior Hudson, good morning. Let's go. There you go. CM Punk, hi, Farzy, hi. Fuji, shouted you guys out. Appreciate you. Patterson Ave Fanatics. That's what it is. Thank you, Fuji. Patterson Ave Fanatics. Mi scusi, Fuji. Sean Kilrain, good morning. Sean Kilrain, hello. Kyle Schwarber, the first Phillies MVP, the All-Star game since Johnny Callis in 1964. How about that? You know, another shout out to you, Patterson Avenue Fanatics guys, because you guys were asking me about Big Daddy Graham. And Big Daddy Graham, if we talked about an All-Star game, Johnny Callison would come up because Big Daddy Graham that was like his favorite moment when Johnny Callison won the All-Star game MVP. 3-run home run, 1964, and we would talk about that a lot. All-Star game would come up, we'd be talking about. I'd say Johnny Callison, Frank Sinatra, Sopranos, even though I was not. I don't know what made Big Daddy think I was such a big Sopranos guy, but I wasn't at the time. I am now. Watched the show 2 times through within the last year. Yeah. Sean Kilray, hello. Kyle Schwarber and Callison, only 2 Phillies ever to win All-Star game MVP. Callison hit a walk. This was a walk-off, yeah. Give the National League an All-Star game victory in 1964. Fitting. Boa fan, sign him, please, Dave. There was a comment out there from Kyle Schwarber during the media sessions and all that stuff leading up to the All-Star game. And it was basically like, look, they know they have interest from me. I have interest in them. Hopefully that leads to us striking a deal. So let's get that deal done. Please and thank you. Sean Gillespie, hello. Morning, everyone. Good morning. The Eagle Nest, music to my ears. Is that not the greatest thing ever? When Pete Alonso hit that home run, the first thing I thought was, damn it. Now All-Star game's going to go to MVP's going to go to the Mets. Now when the Phillies go to City Field, we got to hear MVP. They already ruined My Girl for me. Thanks to Francisco Lindor walking up to that. Oh, hey, by the way, I didn't even mention this. The ABS system, yeah. Hell yeah. Absolutely. How now? Can we get it now? Now. Big fan. Loved it. I think it was, I know it was an Encarnacion saying who. Oh, damn it. I'm blanking. Who, was it Hernandez? Who the hell was it in that 8th inning or 9th inning? Ball was outside. Kirk appealed it. Catcher for the Blue Jays, so we know all too well. In Philadelphia, excuse me. Wow. And live taping. Appealed it and got the strike call. And he just stood there in the batter's box like, there's no way that's a strike. Still was dumbfounded, even though he just watched it. Tracked by a computer. The one thing I heard Ken Rosenthal saying about it the other day, this wasn't last night, but this was the other day. The thing I heard him say about it was that the strike zone is a little taller and less wide. I think that was it wasn't the same strike zone. And that made me go, wait a minute, hold on. What do you mean not the same strike zone? It adjusts to the player, obviously. But it adjusts differently than what the actual strike zone is. So I thought that was wild. That's the first time I had heard that. But either way, I think this really worked out well last night. And they didn't mark it in the play-by-play or box score. Rosarena, that's who it was. Struck out looking. And originally it was called a ball. It was going to be, it was 0-2. And they hit him with a fastball low and away, and it just stayed in the zone for a strike. Barely. And Randy Rosarena just stood there like, that's not a strike. And it's like, oh, technically speaking, the evidence is there. So I did like it last night. I thought that was pretty cool. Ken Saad, good morning. Schwarber, God bless you. God bless you. Ken Saad out of here. That's right. Right, Farzi, correct. Yeah, I'm a real detective. That only took me like 3 months, brother. Changed my name for real nickname because there are too many NFL whiners now. That's true. That's true. On this, so on the serious note, what the bleep are the national talking heads thinking that Dallas might be good this year? They just, oh man, they would love nothing more than the Dallas Cowboys to be good. I tell you all the time, the Dallas Cowboys, for every network, provide a cowboy bump. Everyone has an opinion about the Cowboys. You either love them or you hate them. I just heard the story recently, like Elvis Presley's manager, the Colonel, sold I Hate Elvis pins to make sure that he made money off everybody. The Cowboys are I Hate Elvis Presley pins. They make money. They help the league make money from everybody. We'll watch a Cowboy game, even if they're playing the Chargers or whatever, just because we want to see them lose. That's how most of the nation feels. Oh, what, America's team? You think it's not a unique thing to Philadelphia to look at the Cowboys and be like, America's team, my ass. You know, that's not unique to Philadelphia. That's pretty much everybody else that's not a Cowboys fan. It's like the Yankees. Everyone's got an opinion on the Yankees. So that's the way they look at it. That's the way they look at it. To build them up as possibly being good is only helpful because you're going to get the bandwagon fraud Cowboy fans from around the country. Oh, it was so good. Oh, it was great. Clickety, click, click, clickety, click, click. And then you're going to get the people that hate them and be like, this is stupid. There's a lot of money in hating the Cowboys. There's a lot of money in the Cowboys. That's why that's the thing. And no, I do not think they're going to be good this year. I think they're going to. Here's the thing. The Cowboys could go, 11-6, 12-4. They could be, 12-5. They could be amazing. Have a great regular season. They're going to poop the bed in the playoffs. They are playoff poopers. That's what they are. Eagle Nest, hello. Cowboys can coin the term America's team, but Philly is the world's team. That's right. Took over Brazil, won in London. Come on. Thanks, everybody in the chat. You guys are great, as per usual. All right. Coming up later today, a live version of Locked On 76ers at 10 o'clock. Keith Pompey and yours truly. We'll be talking about last night's Summer League game, so make sure you guys like and subscribe to Locked On 76ers. Make sure you guys, on YouTube, make sure you guys like and subscribe to The Farzi Show. Make sure you guys like and subscribe to JAKIB Media. You got Birds 365 coming up at 8 o'clock today. And, yeah, we'll have another Sixers short going out there later tonight as well after the 76ers play their final Vegas Summer League game. Look at this. Look at this. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Once again, Kyle Schwarber, All-Star Game MVP. Edwin Diaz costs Pete Alonso and the Mets the All-Star Game MVP. Have a great rest of your day, everybody. See you guys tomorrow.